Franklin Delano Roosevelt, or some refer to him as FDR, was the 32nd President of the United States. He was President from 1933 until his death in 1945. President Roosevelt was president during the Great Depression, which were some of the hardest economic times that the United States had ever experienced or have ever experienced. Part of President Roosevelt's plan to get the United States out of the Great Depression was programs that he called the New Deals. Part of his programs directly helped the region where I call home. One of those programs is TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority. He signed the Tennessee Valley Authority Act May 18, 1933. Most people recognize TVA and associate that with hydroelectric power. That came later for TVA. TVA was initially designed to aid in economic development and to modernize the Tennessee Valley region. Initially, TVA developed fertilizers. They taught farmers ways to improve their crops. They helped teach people ways to control forest fires and helped develop better habitats for fish and wildlife. But the most dramatic change that TVA brought into effect was electricity. Electricity brought to this region made home life simpler and easier. It helped farmers to have more productive farms. It also helped bring industry to the region, and with the industry came jobs, which jobs is what we greatly needed. By 1934, TVA alone employed over 9,000 people. TVA helped this region so much. Another program as part of FDR's second New Deal was the Social Security Act. It was signed into law on August 14, 1934. The Social Security, 1935, sorry. The Social Security Act was initially brought into effect because FDR and some others in the United States felt that it was unfair that elderly people who had worked so hard their whole lives were now living in poverty because they were too old to work and they had no money to make it. So Social Security was initially developed for those people. Congress put up the first part of the money, and then Social Security started coming out as a payroll tax. In 1935, and then the first few years that Social Security Act was in effect, about 2% of your payroll would go to Social Security tax. And then annually, people drew about $58. After it worked so well for the elderly, disabled people and then dependents of those people were also added on, so it helped children of disabled. The next program that was part of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's New Deal actually directly affect the community where I live, the Cumberland Homesteads Project. It came into effect January 1934 when the Division of Subsistence purchased 20,000 acres from the Missouri Land Company. They chose 233 families, 30% of those being unemployed farmers, 30% unemployed coal miners, 30% were unemployed textile workers, and then 10% was teachers or nurses, and one doctor was chosen to be one of the families. Initially, William Macy Stanton, which had drew up all the plans for a lot of the TVA buildings, came up with house plans and then plans for buildings of the Cumberland Homesteads Project. The Civilian Conservation Corps also constructed a few recreation buildings and also a lake, Bird Lake. Bird Lake is now part of the Cumberland Mountain State Park. And then by the end of 1934, the first set of homes and buildings had been constructed. They were constructed of crab orchard stone, which is a stone that's local to Cumberland County, so they try to use everything from within the region here. Some of the most noted buildings that were part of the Cumberland Homesteads Project was the Homestead Water Tower. Initially, it was a water tower, and also it held the offices of the program. Now it's a museum that you can visit. The Homestead School, which is several buildings put together, they still use it. It's one of the local elementary schools. And then there was also the dam at Bird Lake, and then also a stone bridge on South Old Mill Road. All of those you can still visit today and are still still part of the Cumberland Homesteads Project. With that project directly affecting my hometown, it helped my ancestors tremendously to rise above the Great Depression. I'm so very thankful for Franklin Delano Roosevelt's work against the toughest of critics to help the United States get out of the Great Depression. So he did a job well done.